You hang suspended over the Caribbean waves, one hand desperately gripping a fraying rope, the other reaching for nothing but salt-soaked air. The edge of a cutlass kisses your throat, and you can feel every heartbeat pulse against its cold steel. Welcome to your job interview pirate style. Join or feed the fish, cabin boy. The scarred face above you splits into what might be a grin or a snarl, hard to tell, with half his teeth missing. 15 years of living hasn't prepared you for this moment. Then again, being an orphan on the streets of Bristol hadn't prepared you for much, except surviving. And right now, that's all that matters. Below you, the afternoon sun paints the waves a deceivingly peaceful blue. The merchant ship UD called home for the past year gently rocks beside the massive pirate vessel that caught her like a Minecraft villager facing a creeper. You know exactly how this ends. The screams from the main deck have mostly stopped now. Funny how quickly surrender happens when there's a blade at your throat and your captor looks like he flosses with barbed wire. Tick-tock. Boy, the fish ain't got all day. A splash somewhere behind you emphasizes his point. Probably another crew member making their choice the wrong one. You think about the orphanage master who always said you'd end up swinging from a rope. Well, he was at least half right. Your first test of survival isn't fighting or plundering, it's saying yes before your throat becomes a second smile. The words barely squeak out, "I'll join." The cutlass disappears, replaced by a rough hand yanking you back onto the solid deck. "Welcome to the Black Barrel's crew," your new captain announces with all the warmth of a hungry shark. "You've got one day to prove your worth more alive than dead. How's that for your first hour in piracy?" No time to celebrate, though. You've got 24 hours to learn tasks that most sailors take years to master. Your hands are shaking, but they'd better steady up quick. There's rigging to climb, knots to tie, and 100 ways to die if you mess up. Make that 101. Welcome to your crash course in piracy. First lesson. Everything on a pirate ship is trying to kill you: the ropes, the sails, the crew, even the splinters. Your hands look like you've been arm wrestling with a porcupine, and that's just from your first hour of training. Up the main mast, fresh meat. Your new supervisor is a one-eyed brute they call Patrial Creative, these pirates. The mast stretches up like a tower, swaying with each wave. Fun fact: falling from that height doesn't just kill you, it gives the sharks a pretenderized meal. But here's the thing about growing up on the streets. You learned early that surviving means adapting fast. By sunset, you're scrambling through the rigging like you were born to it, making mental notes of which ropes look more trustworthy than your new crewmates. The months blur together like rum and seawater. You've graduated from powder monkey to proper crew member, which means more responsibilities and more creative ways to die. The crew stopped betting on when you'll get killed. Now they're betting on how. Your odds are split between swallowed by a storm and stabbed over stolen rum. You never understood why everyone was so afraid of scurvy until old Pete tried to tell you a joke one morning. Wide, the pirate skipped church. He grins, his bleeding gums turning his smile into something from a nightmare. The punchline is lost forever as his remaining teeth stage a mass exodus, abandoning ship like rats from a sinking vessel. You stare at his soup now, featuring a disturbing new garnish. Well, old Pete mumbles through his newly spacious mouth. At least I won't need to floss anymore. After that, you become the ship's most enthusiastic orange eater. Nothing motivates a healthy diet quite like watching someone's teeth retire early. The crew found Pete's dental disaster hilarious. Of course, pirates have a twisted sense of humor about everything, especially each other's misfortunes. That's just how things work here, where politics flow as freely as alcohol. Every crew member has alliances, grudges, and secrets. Your street-smart instincts serve you well. You know when to speak, when to stay quiet, and most importantly, when to pretend you're too busy cleaning a cannon to hear anything incriminating. Just as you start to feel a sliver of confidence, nature decides to put it to the test. The sky turns black as pitch, and waves as tall as church steeples crash over the deck, threatening to tear the ship apart. Secure that sail before we capsize. Captain's orders. The command is nearly drowned out by the roar of the wind and a deafening crack of thunder. This isn't a test anymore. This is survival. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this tale of Heise's adventure, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more stories. We'll see you in the next one. The wind howls like a banshee, and you're already scrambling up the rigging, moving like a spider drunk on sea spray. Something's different. You're not that terrified cabin boy anymore. Your quick thinking saves not just the sail, but 3 crew members. Although, sadly, not the poor soul who thought holding on to the anchor chain during a storm was a brilliant idea. Well, that's one way to visit Davy Jones, you mutter, helping another sailor find his footing. That night, the storm gives way to a deceptive calm, and you're invited to share rum with the veteran crew. It tastes suspiciously like bilge water, but you've never had a sweeter victory. Your reputation grows with each passing adventure. You become known for being clever, quick with both a rope and your wit, and surprisingly good at not dying, a very valuable skill in this line of work. Your first real command comes during a raid on a Dutch merchant vessel. The captain is either testing your potential or just plain out of options. Hard to tell with his poker face. But either way, you're suddenly in charge of a boarding party, and everyone else watching to see if leadership suits you better than that stolen officer-esque coat you re-wearing. Spoiler alert, at least the coat fits. Your plan is brilliantly desperate. While the main crew creates a racket at the bow, you lead your team up the stern with grappling hooks and sheer audacity. But the moment one trigger-happy pirate turns your stealthy raid into a gunpowder party, you have to improvise. Fire in the hold. You yell, even though there isn't one. In the chaos of your manufactured panic, your team secures the cargo hold while the Dutch crew is busy throwing water at imaginary flames. The captain calls it unconventional tactics. Your mate Patch just calls it crazy enough to work. Then comes the fever, sweeping through the crew like a ghost. Half the men are delirious, the other half are teetering on the edge of mutiny. You keep the ship running with a cocktail of medicine, threats, and some very creative lying. 3 days to land. You tell them on Monday. 3 days. You repeat on Wednesday. Still 3 days. You insist on Friday. Turns out geography is pretty flexible when your crew is too feverish to read a map. Life has a funny way of coming full circle, like a compass finally pointing back to where you began. Except this compass actually works. 20 years have passed since you first dangled over those churning Caribbean waves. Now you're watching another merchant crew face the exact same choice you once did. The fear in their eyes. It's the same fear you once wore like a second skin. Their captain is dead-got brave with a pistol, and even braver with his last words. "You'll never take my ship," he declared, pulling the trigger with dramatic flair. Turns out, you should probably check if your pistol is loaded before the dramatic one-liners his crew, though they've got that hungry look. The desperate, nothing left to lose sparkle that makes veterans like you nervous. But you remember being that scared cabin boy, so you argue for mercy. Give them a chance. You tell your captain. He agrees, probably because you saved his life in that nasty business with the Portuguese last month. You should have remembered desperate men are dangerous men. The new recruits learn fast. They ask the right questions, laugh at the right jokes. But you notice things others don't. The whispers that stop when you approach. The way they cluster together during watch changes. The daggers missing from the weapon store. It happens during the midnight watch. You're at the helm, watching the stars dance across the black, Caribbean sky, when you hear it's a soft padding of too many feet for a regular watch change. Bit late for a social call, lads, you say, without turning around. The moonlight reveals what the starlight concealed. You're surrounded by shadows with sharp edges. The new recruits, led by that young firebrand who reminds you so much of yourself, well, maybe not that asterisk much. Your hand inches toward your pistol, but you already know how this ends. A true pirate goes down fighting. Funny, you say as you draw your weapon. This is exactly how I started. You manage to take 2 of them with you before the rest rush in. You lads might want to work on your gratitude and your personal hygiene. You quip as you fall, watching your own blood paint abstract art on the deck. You can't help but laugh at the irony. You survived storms, battles, disease, and 100 other ways to die, only to be done in by the same mercy you once received. Your final thought as the stars fade to black is that maybe this is how pirates are supposed to go, not from a noose or a cannonball, but from failing to spot when history is about to repeat itself. They'll probably tell stories about you in port taverns, the clever pirate who rose from cabin boy to legend, only to die by the same kindness that once saved him. But they'll get it wrong, as they always do, because the real story isn't about how you died, it's about how you lived. One day at a time, one survival at a time, one lesson at a time. And in the end, maybe that's all any pirate can ask for. Thanks for joining us on this voyage. If you enjoyed the story, be sure to drop a like, subscribe, and ring that bell for more tales from the high seas. We'll see you on the next tide.